We will call to order the monthly meeting of the Signal Mountain Town Council for July 8th. We'll start with the pledge and we'll observe a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And not Carol, will you? Sherry, will you do roll call?
Councilmember Lusk. Here. Councilmember Murdoch.
Here.
Councilmember Spaulding.
Here.
Vice Mayor Speed. And Mayor Lane.
Here. Everybody make sure your microphones are on.
Test.
You good?
Test. Yeah.
All right. So we don't have any minutes to approve, so we can check that one off. And move right on to citizens' opportunity to address council. So come to the mic and say your name and your address, unless you don't want to come to the mic. All right, nobody? All right, we close that portion of the meeting. We have no resolutions that need to be considered tonight. The only ordinance that's on this is the first reading of the budget. And I'll read that now, and we'll entertain a motion if one appears. An ordinance of the Town of Signal Mountain, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2019, and ending June 30th, 2020, hereinafter known as the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget ordinance. This is a first reading. If this happens tonight, it requires two readings. At the second meeting, we'll have another public hearing just like we had last time. So,
I believe Amy may have just pulled in over the police department.
okay.
Just
So, she'll be here.
not positive. It looked like her vehicle.
Okay. Do we hear a motion?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and discussion. So, Boyd, do you want to give us a summary of what was changed from the initial budget, perhaps, as a place to start?
Since the original submitted budget, there have been a few, let me pull these out here, minor corrections. Other than that, the additional raises for the management level staff have been removed. There was the addition of purchase of rapid intervention packs for the fire department because we received a grant to pay for that, so there's an offsetting revenue for that as well. We're also budgeting $5,000 in fire. Right at the end of the budget year, we received a donation of $5,000 for their use, so that's being donated. But again, that's offset by revenue, that being a donation.
I want to make sure that the 5,000 in fire, is that for the rapid intervention packs?
No,
No.
that's
That's
$7,000.
the
There was
tanks.
an additional $5,000 donation from a citizen.
Okay.
Is there any stipulation on how that's to be used? Other than the fire
I
department?
don't believe so, no. Additionally, we've removed the youth recreation coordinator from the budget and all associated revenue and expenditures. We have changed the, originally there was additional paving in, and that has been changed and now reflects the $268,439 for additional paving. And again, from the original budget, there the sanitation fee was removed and funding moved to general fund for sanitation as it has been in the past.
Was there an adjustment on the stormwater fee?
No, that is back to where it was originally.
Okay.
And that's in a separate fund. And there have been additional revenues budgeted in the water to reflect the changing in the rates. That was approved after the budget was actually produced. So we went back in and accounted for some additional revenue there as well.
Is that it?
Mhm. Specifically in the general fund.
Right.
The one additional in the water, along with that increase in revenue, we've also put in the capital projects that we anticipated for the water meters and software associated with that upgrade.
All right, so Amy, we have a first and a second for the first reading of the budget that's up, and we're in the discussion portion. Yeah. No, we didn't skip it. The citizen skipped it. Yeah, it went fast.
So we're at a, say that again,
We're in the budget discussion now. We've had a first and a second moment
to pass it?
on first reading.
reading.
Yeah. And so Boyd was just giving us an update on where we stand.
Any changes?
It was,
Not since what was sent to you.
right. The youth recreation coordinator, we knew that was going to be out, so that's out. And the paving was lowered to 268,439. The extra, the raises for management level were removed. And I don't know if she knew about the $5,000 that we got. A citizen donated $5,000 for, no, batteries are upside down. Somebody else's were too.
Coming from Salford.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right, we have talked about this a lot, and we know what's controversial about it. We know what everybody's happy about, which is nothing. The fact that, this is definitely a vote on and I shouldn't say nothing. I mean, there's a lot of good going on as well, but our situation is what it is, and we've discussed it. If anyone wants to bring up anything additional to discuss, or we can entertain, we can vote once the discussion is done. So that's where we are. Anything new? Hearing no more discussion, all those in favor of passing this on first reading, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Nay.
So it's 3-2, Sherry. We have a discussion now for council vacancy applications, and this has not had a couple of people call to say, are we voting on this tonight? This is not the vote tonight, it's just determining how we do this, when we do it.
When
And,
will the vote be?
At the next, well, it
Next.
can be at the next meeting, it doesn't have to be, that's what we'll decide tonight, yeah. But the charter, I'll let Harry talk about what it says we have to do.
The voting has to occur after the vacancy occurs. Mr. Spalding may
I
change
should
his
leave right
mind.
now then.
No.
It's got to be voted after the vacancy occurs. The council has 30 days to fill the vacancy. If it's not filled within 30 days, then the Hamilton County Election Commission shall schedule a special election to fill that vacancy.
Do they pay for it?
No.
No.
Just, hey, that was worth asking.
Yeah, no, it's, when we were talking about a potential referendum, it was like 18 to 22,000 or something like that, Boyd, do you recall?
I don't recall. It was significant.
It was-
It's a lot more than if we're holding an election in conjunction with a regular state and
Right.
county election. If we're doing one solely for the town, it's considerably more
Yeah.
expensive.
May I ask, when is our next meeting? Like, when would be the meeting that we would potentially vote?
At the second one, it would be the 22nd
Of July?
of July.
Oh, okay.
Assuming no change in plans.
Right.
Are you changing your mind, Bob?
No, I've changed. No.
He seems very happy tonight, too. I've noticed. He had a big smile. So I would like to propose that we do what we've done the last couple of times, which is basically what's happening in many of these things. When you have more than two people, you have a ranked choice vote the first time to narrow it down to two. And then the second vote, you just vote for one. So it gets it down to two. Is everybody okay with that? We do have to be careful. Ranked choice voting does not work unless everybody votes for all three. If there are three names, in our case, there's three names, Melissa Cantrell's, Peter Harrison, and Cheryl Graham's. You have to vote for each one. You have to vote for all three, or your vote doesn't count, and it's not ranked voting. And we didn't pay close attention to that before. Need to.
Who makes those rules?
Well, that's the way ranked voting works.
It's just, our vote doesn't count?
If you don't vote for all three.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not ranked voting if you don't do that.
It's just not ranked voting. That doesn't mean that your vote doesn't count, sorry.
Yeah. In order for it to be ranked voting,
You feel like it's unfair if we don't use all three?
yeah,
But that's not like a rule.
it is for ranked voting, but it's not a rule that's in our charter. We could decide right now to elect the next person by drawing lots.
Right, but if we do ranked voting and we don't vote for all three, there's nothing saying that it doesn't count. It's just somebody didn't vote for all three. We're still going to
No,
count
that-
their vote, right?
I think there needs to be a motion on how you want to vote. How you want to handle the voting. I think your motion needs to provide that it's only for this one particular election unless the choice is to make it permanent. And I think you put in to the vote, into the motion, any restrictions you want, if any. Well, if you want the restrictions to be, if you don't vote for all three, your vote doesn't count, that needs to be in the motion.
So I'd like to make a motion that we, at the next council meeting, vote to replace, to fill the vacant seat, and that we use ranked choice voting, which will consist of one round of ranked choice voting in which, how should I word it? All,
Each council member ranks each candidate 1 to 3.
right, in order for it to be a valid vote. I
Yeah.
don't know if we need to say that, but
Is there a reason we're not just voting for who we want to be the replacement? I mean, I know when we had like a larger pool of candidates, like 6, for example, but we only have 3. So, I mean, is there a reason behind this? Or is anyone opposed to just voting for who they'd like to replace his seat?
I don't know.
Would that be by way of like a ballot?
Yeah,
For
just
example.
vote,
so here's. some-
like we were voted.
No, we were voted by.
But we weren't rank voted, we were, who do you want to fill, there's 2 seats, you vote 2 people.
Right.
Or 3 in your case.
We have the option of doing what much of the nation is moving towards as they can, which is when you have multiple candidates for something to narrow it to 2. It's more representative that way. It gets it down to 2 people. And I also think for consistency's sake, since we've done this the last couple of times now, we shouldn't change it for this vote. And I agree with you, you can really see where it makes sense if you have 8 candidates, if you have 3.
Yeah, I don't think it makes sense for 3, I just think
But
we should
it's-
vote for who we
it's-
want to fill the vacancy.
I want to toss in one other thing. We have to realize that if you have a vote, and let's say the vote splits between 4 people, 1, 2, no one gets elected. Because our charter requires a majority of the council members.
Right, so then we can vote till we have a majority.
So it must be a 3-1 vote, or a 4-0 vote, which is what we would hope to have. Can you give me a reason why we shouldn't rank vote and narrow it down to 2?
I just think it's easier. I think we vote for who we would like to
It's-
fill the vacancy.
What is hard about this?
Nothing, I feel like why do you want ranked voting?
Because it gets it down to 2 and gives everybody a chance to vote on the final 2, and that's how it works. It's the reason, yeah. So
Then
anyway,
why don't we vote on just our top 2? I don't think I should have to cast a vote for each candidate, is why I'm saying that. If you would like to narrow it down to 2, then why don't we cast our vote for 2 of the 3, and that gets us our 2, and then we can just vote for out of those 2.
because it's not ranked.
It's similar.
voting.
I know it's not ranked voting, but it's similar to what you were wanting.
I think I need to do the math on that. I think there might be some problems with that, even with the math, that you could end up with. We're trying to get this down to 2 so we can have a majority.
Well, I would have to do some calculations too. I'm not sure if it makes a difference or not.
Yeah, we have this way that works. I've made a motion. Can you read what we have in the motion? Okay.
At the next council meeting, we want to vote to fill the council vacancy by ranked choice voting. Each council member ranks each candidate. And I'll probably say something.
And each council member must vote for each, well, you said each council member must rank each candidate.
Yeah, that's the part I disagree with. So,
So anyway, I move that at the next council meeting, we have this voting system. like we've
It's
done.
not my motion, but let me make a suggestion.
Yes.
And put something in the motion that this only applies to the next vacancy.
To vote, okay.
Unless this council wants to change that from this day forward, it can be changed later, but
Yeah. I think we ought to have a longer discussion about that. You guys agree with
My,
that?
I guess my thought is we have 3 great candidates that have submitted their applications. And so maybe it would just help us build consensus if we did it that way. It'd be like a process of elimination. And I don't think it'll take that long. So, I mean, I can see what you're saying, Amy, but I can also,
yeah, I just don't want to, I don't want to be forced to vote for each candidate. I would like to have a little more flexibility on candidates that I feel like I would prefer to fill the vacancy.
Yeah,
And
but
I think we should have that
It breaks it
autonomy.
if you don't, though.
That's,
so it
we
doesn't work.
disagree. I don't know what to say.
No, I mean, mathematically, it breaks it if you don't.
So you have a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Yeah.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. So, other discussion? Bob, you can,
I'm going to defer.
okay. Any other discussion?
oh,
All those, no? All right, all those but we don't read the motion just to be sure.
At the next council meeting, vote to fill council vacancies, ranked choice voting. Each council member ranks each candidate. This only applies to upcoming vacancies.
is this what we did for the town attorney? And we had 3 candidates for that?
Yeah, we got it
But we
down.
weren't forced to use our votes.
Yeah, if any.
It wasn't written in it, though. Your vote still would have counted if you didn't use all 3.
well, that motion doesn't say your vote doesn't count. Just says you must vote for all 3. What happens if you don't? That's a decision the council's going to
Yeah,
have to deal with.
I think normally you wouldn't have to stipulate that, but I think we probably should stipulate that each council member must vote for 3 candidates in the first round for their vote to count. What we're moving towards is making sure that we can get as close to 2 candidates, out of which one can get 3 votes. Because if we don't,
Or we can just vote for the candidate. Let's just vote. Anyway, go ahead. I'm outnumbered anyway, so it doesn't really
I was going to
matter.
defer, but I'm going to have to say it doesn't make sense that your vote doesn't count. if you don't do it a certain way.
It does in ranked voting because.
I mean,
you-
it may, and that may be your opinion, but I would not be in favor of saying your vote doesn't count if you don't rank all three. I mean, it could be the process, but, you know, if you decide not to.
Do you
Isn't
see
it kind of the
why?
same thing, though? I mean, like, you put your top candidate first, and the person that you, even if, I mean, I don't know what we're arguing about here, really. I mean, I don't know what we're debating. I guess not arguing, but what are we debating, actually? I mean, why does it?
I think it's weighted differently, like 3-2-1 versus just everybody voting for who they want. Let's make your motion.
I kind
Yeah,
of just, I
We have
think
a
it's.
motion and a second on
over
the
it.
floor, but I don't want to stop discussion.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to understand. I'm just trying to understand. I mean, you're going to put your top choice first.
But then we re-vote between the two. So then, for example, if one candidate, we all voted, that would be the person that, you'd pick your top choice, yours, and mine. That would be the candidate, whoever won the majority. If you do ranking, you're narrowing it down to 2, which means then we then re-vote, which means your top candidate could change. It creates, in my mind, a lot of, I just don't like it. I guess it's
So
uncertainty.
if
I
we
would
did-
rather just, you vote for who you want, you vote for who you want, me, and then we're done.
Okay.
Just
and
like
then-
people did when they voted us into office. They didn't
And
narrow
then-
it down and then do a re-election of the top 2 and who got what. And
And then if we
Just
do
clear
it
cut.
that way, and it's a 2-2 or whatever, what, then we just start over again with a ballot with 3 people's names on the ballot, and we just keep going until there's a 3-1
I don't think
or
we'd keep
a
going,
4-0
but
or whatever.
we could put something in place. I don't think we would just keep going round robin. But then if that were to happen, then
You
the
do
top,
have to
then you
just keep
do
going.
the top 2 and then vote. But that's just my opinion.
Right, so this gets us there immediately, and you do have to keep going until, or you decide to table it and let the election commission take over.
Which we're not going to do. We're not being that extreme. We're having a discussion.
Yeah.
That's all. But vote. It's fine with me.
Fine with you guys? All right, did we make the change? Yeah, we did. Right.
But we're not, are you stipulating that if you don't if you don't use all 3, that your vote doesn't count? Because I don't agree with that. Did you put that in the motion?
Yes, absolutely, on our attorney's.
Do you
advice.
guys agree that we should say our vote doesn't count?
If we're going to use ranked voting.
I think that would defeat the whole purpose if you didn't. I don't know. I didn't think this was going to be hard, but now I'm.
It's not that hard. Let's vote, and if the majority doesn't want to do it, we won't do it.
If I might, I think there've been a couple of changes, but
Read it again?
the change to not count the vote if they don't rank all 3, I think came after the second. So we need to make sure that.
Oh, I will,
It's a new motion.
yeah, so I'll withdraw my motion, withdraw your second. And Sherry, read it, and I'll make a
There you
new
go.
motion if I agree with you.
At the next council meeting, vote to fill council vacancy, ranked choice voting, each council member ranks each candidate. This only applies to upcoming council vacancy, and each council member must vote for 3 candidates in the first round.
Okay, so so once we go through that first round, then somebody will be eliminated?
Yeah, then it narrows it down to 2.
Then it narrows it down to
And
2.
then you just vote.
And then you just vote who your preference is.
That's all you're doing in the first, is just narrowing.
Okay.
I make a motion that we do what Sherry just read.
Second.
All right, new discussion? Harry, are you satisfied that we are achieving what we set out to achieve, or what I set out to achieve in the motion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
It carries 3-2. Other business, well, tentative agenda. We're on to that.
Before we move off of the candidate issue, if, I have probably a couple of questions for each of the candidates. Is there any objection to my asking Bo to forward those questions to the candidates for answers on how they view certain issues?
Do you want to do that now?
No.
We didn't
No,
invite them
I'll
tonight.
do
You mean
that.
for next time?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just so that we
that's-
have those answers back before we vote.
I think that's a wonderful question, because it came up before that if we asked them specific questions, there was a comment at one point that if you asked somebody a question about an issue, that you would be what was that word? Influencing or something. Would it be okay for us to ask the candidates questions?
Sure. I think what you're thinking about is if you ask the candidates a question that would be something that's voted on in the future,
Right.
then you're making a decision on a candidate based on an issue.
And?
I think you should avoid that.
Well, and my thinking is that these are essentially past issues or issues that may arise again in the future, totally unrelated to any past issues.
It seems anything you ask could potentially come up.
Yeah, there probably are questions that would not create a problem, but I just think it's a slippery slope, and I don't think at this point you can weigh what's a fair question and what's not a fair question.
Can you weigh that?
No. No, I cannot.
What are the questions? Oh, sorry. I haven't eaten. I'm so sorry. It's been a day. Do you mind sharing what your questions are?
Yeah, I'd just really like to send a note to Bo and say, hey, here's questions I have for each of the candidates.
Like, what are your questions, though? What questions would you ask him?
I would ask a question about rezoning from residential to commercial. That's certainly foremost in my mind.
Okay.
And to me, that's an important issue.
Would you want the candidates to submit an answer to you?
To Bo.
Or and then send it to
Bo
all the
could send
council
it out.
members?
Or is that your
With
only
all-
question?
I'm sorry?
Is that your only question?
I probably would have one or two more.
I'm asking what they are. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be coy.
I'm not sure what the other ones are at this point,
Okay.
but I'm sure I can come up with something.
Do you have any problem with that?
But, yeah, I do.
You think we shouldn't do that?
Yeah, I think that leads to an argument that you are making potential future decisions now.
Very well. Thank you.
That's odd. I mean, I see where you're coming from, but that's an odd situation.
I think you summed it up for me, because that's exactly what citizens do when they select someone, but I guess the difference is that
It's the number of votes.
it's not the citizens that are making the choice
Right.
now, so that
Exactly.
complicates it.
Of course, I could always argue that we are the citizens' representatives.
Absolutely. There's not
I
any
know, I'm-
argument about that.
But there's no
I am
chance
beating
for-
a dead
yeah.
horse, so.
Yeah, and there's no chance for citizens to have to pay a fine based on any questions they ask. And that does exist for us, based on ethics concerns. Probably not that one, but. All right. Where are we on this? Yeah, no, we were going to go to the tentative agenda, is where we were going. Unless anybody else has anything to add to that? You have yours? Anybody have your tentative agenda? Is that the one for next time?
They're just more tentative agenda, so.
So we've got, no, this is the first reading. This is the first reading.
Do you want this?
Yes,
You
please.
see? They look very similar.
We do.
We will now move from discussion the council vacancy to a vote. It won't be a resolution or ordinance, but we will schedule it as an action. Given our current situation, I don't know that we'll have any resolutions, being that we're in a continuation budget, but.
You have to put public hearing on there.
It is number 8.
Gotcha, sorry. Anybody have anything else think needs to go on this next agenda? All right, any other business? Hearing no other business?
I just
Yes.
would like to say I've enjoyed serving, and it's been a privilege and an honor, but more importantly, it was a privilege and honor that the community selected. When we get selected, it's an honor to serve, so I just wanted to think I've enjoyed working with the various councils, and I look forward to seeing how the new councils take shape.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob, for your service.
All right, hearing no other business, we are adjourned.
That was what?
I've got trained. Does it work? And that's right, you can't be accused of
Nothing.
What ERs? No, probably. I don't work here anymore. It's been a while, yeah.
Good night.